Tonight, Representative Bryant Wolfen and Senator Mike Moon. They are the 2025 recipients of the Lock & Smiths Foundation's most constitutionally voted members in the Missouri General Assembly. And you guys, we've known. I've been in the belly of the beast where I would go there, and you know, I've told my story numerous times. I don't go back there because I just can't handle it anymore. Did it too many years, but I thank you because it's just not an easy place to be, is it? You're going to tell us that. Okay, so these individuals have evidenced by their voting records, have demonstrated that they are the most constitutionally minded members of their respective chambers. They only give one out for each House and Senate, so let them know how you appreciate them. All right, Sharon, you don't have a mic. We're going to do introductions. I'm going to close down this, and then if you guys want to come up front here. It's not. You guys will have to come.
First of all, Representative Lisa Darnell proudly represents Howell County, District 154 in the Missouri House of Representatives. She was elected to her first two-year term in November 2024. Darnell is a proud member of the United Federation of Republican Women. With over 32 years of experience as a certified residential appraiser, she has developed a deep understanding of local property markets. Most recently, she has served as the Deputy Collector for Howell County, where she managed property assessments and taxation efforts. Okay, Representative Keith Elliott represents Carter, Oregon, and Ripley counties and parts of Howell, Shannon, and Wayne counties, District 153, in the Missouri House of Representatives. He was elected to his first two-year term in November 2024. Elliott is a cattle rancher and has a rich background in public service, having worked nearly 30 years with the Missouri Department of Transportation. Representative Steve Jordan proudly represents Stoddard County, the southern half of Bollinger County, and the southwest quarter of Cape Girardeau, District 151, in the Missouri House of Representatives. He was elected to his first two-year term in November 2024. Representative Jordan had previously served his community for over 34 years as the Vice President and General Manager of Heavy Duty Trucks Limited. Representative Bryant Wolfen proudly represents Perry and St. John counties, District 145, in the Missouri House of Representatives. He was elected to his first two-year term in November 2024. He also serves on the board of St. Genevieve Public Access Television, where he supports local programming and communication initiatives. A former alderman, Wolfen has a strong foundation in local government advocating for fiscally responsible policies and smaller government.
Wow. Give a big Guardians welcome to our state reps.
You come up here, Jim.
Yes, I'm sorry. If you guys would come on up here and just have a seat. And what we'll do, I guess maybe it kind of worked out well last time, if you guys will stand when you're speaking, and we have two mics, and so two and two, you'll have to pass it back and forth. All right? And just rearrange your seats.
Am I starting?
Sure.
All right. I guess I'll start. Cool. All right. So my name is Bryant Wolfen. I am, as she had stated, state representative out of St. Genevieve and Perry County. I don't know if that's because I'm close to that or what the deal is. Yeah. Too loud, apparently. So, not to brag, but got like 5 or 6 constituents here. So, not from here. Appreciate you guys coming, and pretty blessed in St. Genevieve and Perry County. I mean, we got good grassroots conservatives. Yet we got Gene over here as well. So, thank you guys for coming and showing support. So, a little bit about me. First and foremost, father of 4 kids. Still weird saying that, as I had my our newest kid at the final stages of our session, so I missed 9 votes. Otherwise, my constitutional record would have been a little bit better if I wouldn't have missed those 9 votes. So I'll hold that over my 4th daughter's head, or my 4th kid's head forever. But with that, I can't do any of this without my rock, my wife Megan. We've been married for 12 years now, been together for over 15, and she's a rock star. We homeschool our children. They come with me to Jeff City. So we are truly blessed and being able to do, we're just a good team, right? So we are also business owners. So we're small business owners we have one convenience store, gas station in St. John County. And we also have one in Madison County in Fredericktown. And so that's kind of our everyday jobs, if you will. So kind of getting into, I don't really think there's much of a structure, but I'll try to keep it brief so we can pass it on. But kind of my quick thoughts about how our first session went. We're all first term freshmen. Note the high school names, right? And I'm sure we can get further on that in a little bit. But I've been giving it an analogy, and I'm sure there's probably not very many Harry Potter fans in here, but I'll give a little bit of context. In Harry Potter, there's these things called Dementors. And these Dementors, they go around and they basically suck the soul out of the person that they are going after. And so the analogy I use when giving my brief explanation of how my first term went as a freshman rep was that I feel like Jefferson City is like a Dementor because it is constantly trying to suck the soul out of me and my principals along with it. And I'm sure they could probably share that same sentiment. And one last comment before I move on to Lisa here is that, yes, I technically won the Lockett Smith Award, which is probably the only award that I'll ever win in Jefferson City. But I think these are, out of the top 6, I think you're looking at 4 out of the top 6. So if that shows you like where these guys are at as well, maybe I'm at the top, but these guys are right along with me. And if it wasn't for the discussions that we can constantly have throughout session, we go out to dinner instead of going out to dinner with lobbyists and leadership. We go out to dinner together. And because of that, I think our voting records reflect that. So with that, Lisa.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Durnell. As they said, I am from Howell County.
Thank you, sir.
And it is my freshman term, and Bryant Wolfen is a rock star, especially when it comes to the Constitution. I am learning so much from him, just constitutionally, and I hope to continue to do that as time progresses. I want to say thank you to all of you guys, because the grassroots people that have stepped up and supported us in this first year have been absolutely phenomenal. We couldn't have done it without your prayers and your support, your kind words. It's not an easy job, and I know that when you're sitting out there watching what's going on, it sure is easy to say, man, they should have voted a different way. But let me tell you, when you're the one sitting there having to push that button and you have considered everything and you feel like you're doing in your heart what is right for the people, you know that there's going to be some opposition to whatever you vote, no matter what you do. There's going to be someone who is unhappy with you. So whenever we look at that from a grassroots perspective, I think that we all need to keep in mind that at the heart of it, we're all in this like together. We basically have the same ideas, but I feel like there's a lot of maybe bickering isn't the word, but just some fractures in the grassroots across the state. And I feel very strongly that we need to mend those because we need everyone on the same page to move forward together. I think we're really close to being on the same page. We're in the same chapter maybe, but we're not quite on the same page. So we need to get on the same page and move forward and have a little bit of grace and forgiveness because none of us are perfect, for sure. We are doing our very best though, and I can tell you 100% that these 4 and the other 5 that comprise our group are absolutely trying to do our best for the people, which is, in my opinion, kind of rare in Jeff City. we do not, like he said, we do not cozy up to leadership and lobbyists because we were called. We were all called. We all have our own little testimonies and stories about how we got where we are, and it is all because of God that we ended up where we are. And we are not any better than any Missourian out there, you know. We just want to do what's right for you. So we try to keep that in mind all the time, and hopefully that shows in our voting record. And if we take a vote that you don't agree with, I'm sure that if you ask us, we'll be happy to just tell you what our reasoning was. I don't think any of us would hesitate to give you our reasoning on it. We are not trying to hide anything. We are not taking money for any votes. We absolutely do not do that.
Look at our MEC reports if you
Yes,
don't believe us.
100%.
They're not good. They're not good.
Well, they're good.
Well, they're good.
They're good because it's not going to show you any, underhanded things. They're bad because of that, we have no money. So we're just operating on, our heart and the good Lord guiding us. And honestly, I know some of our stories up here, we literally won our races with just like mine, for instance. I won my race in the primary against two opponents. One was someone who had a lot of name recognition in our county. He had served as the presiding commissioner for 12 years and had been a Southern commissioner for 14 years before that. So he had tons of name recognition. I had none. And between him and the PAC who supported him out of Jeff City, they spent about $55,000 on his campaign, and I spent about $13,500, and the good Lord guiding me. And that's the truth. So it can be done, but let me tell you, it's easier if we have some funding behind us to be able to run those campaigns. But anyway, I am happy to answer questions when we get to that point. I do want to just say really quickly, and I don't want to take up Keith's time because I know he loves to talk. Right, Keith?
Absolutely.
Yes. I think Kim, where she is, there you go, she actually touched on this in what she was asking, all the questions that she was asking, and she was talking about called for such a time as this. That was one of those. And that was a big part of my campaign. And so I just want to touch real quickly on that. I gave a talk a couple weeks ago at the Charlie Kirk Memorial in Mountain View. And the thing that God brought to my mind, and I used for my speech that night, was just how we cannot keep silent right now. Whenever you read the book of Esther, everybody wants to go to, I think it's chapter 4, verse 12, where it says, about being called for such a time as this. And that is a great verse. But whenever I was campaigning, whenever I was first getting into filing and all of that, I read Esther, and that whole chapter was fantastic, of course. But the part that jumped off the page at me was, is Mordecai talking to Esther. For if you keep silent at this time, just those words, for if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come for the Jews from another way. And I thought to myself, that's what God's trying to tell me right now. We cannot keep silent at this time. And so then you continue to read on down through there, and if you're familiar with the book of Esther, you'll know what's coming. If you're not, your homework is to go home and read Esther. It's short, and it's a great account. But at the end of it, whenever Esther finally decides that she's going to go and approach the king, and she knows that the penalty for this is death, okay? And she says that she's going to do it anyway. She says, okay, I'll go, I'll approach the king, and if I perish, I perish. She knew what the assignment was. She knew how important it was to save her people. She couldn't keep silent. And she said, it's worth it if I die for this. It's worth it. I've got to go try. And so those words really spoke to me. I know that this is not as dramatic as that, you would think, but then Charlie Kirk gets murdered in broad daylight. And you say, well, maybe it is as dramatic as that. You know, they're gunning for us. It's a spiritual war, and they're gunning for us, literally, physically sometimes. So anyway, I just want you to think about that a little bit, and I know that has nothing to do with legislation, but that's what God just told me to say tonight. So there you go. I will pass it on to you.
So I'm Keith Elliott, District 153, and I find it really ironic that I stand here tonight because I was in this room. The only other time I've been in this room was probably a year and a half ago, and it was right after I had announced that I was going to run. And I was sitting right over there where those two ladies are sitting, and first time I'd ever spoken in public in a forum like this about my intentions to run. And I stood up and I announced that I was running, who I was, those kind of things. So it's good to be back at this place. And I don't know how, if anybody, I know somebody was here, but anyway, it's just kind of ironic. Something not in my bio. My proudest accomplishment, the best thing in my life is my daughter, whom I raised by myself. Great kid. She has got married, I guess, a year ago this past January. And her husband is serving in ministry in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I couldn't be any more blessed. And I have a very full life. And so whenever I accepted this role to take on this campaign, this was new for me. I spent 15 years on the local school board, in leadership in MoDOT, a lot of leadership positions in church, had never ran a campaign. I'm always that kind of guy. I'm fine to be at the back of the place, never be seen, work like crazy. But if somebody don't lead, then I will get out of my way, and we're going to do it. And another thing about that first night I was here is the first night I met Steve and found an ally in him as somebody I knew was going to we could stand together as we went to the Capitol. As went through this campaign, had no idea where to do, where to start, whatever, just jumped in the middle of it and went. A lot about the state government that I didn't know. I had went and talked to a couple other retired reps, a couple sitting reps at the time, and asked them what am I getting into? I just tell me. I've got people asking me to do this. I've got a good life. I'm very blessed. I'm happy. I do a lot of foreign mission work. That's where my heart is at. Love doing that stuff. But I said, tell me what I'm looking at. They said, it's a den of snakes up there. Don't trust anyone. And there's going to be a whole bunch of people who's going to hate your guts before you get there. And I'm like, hey, this sounds like a ball of fun. So this will be great. But I look at this as I do with education or the medical field. I feel like we need to be called to this. If we're not called, if our Creator and our Heavenly Father is not calling us to this, you best go on and do something else. Because this is not it's just not a cakewalk, that's for sure. And I'm the kind of guy, I look at everything as an eternal investment, okay? And I know my people live old, and we're healthy for a long time typically. So I could live another 35 years, easy enough probably, if I don't get hit by a car or something. But that is just like that, the way time is going now, and the way things are changing. So I know, I truly believe we'll be held accountable for everything we say and everything we do and every vote we take. So there's no amount of money that's going to make worth what's going on and what I see at that Capitol. They bring you in, they give you they bring you in, they give you an orientation, and they run through that stuff really fast, okay? They tell you what they want you to know for the most part, and I don't know what we wouldn't have been better off just not to hear anything, because it's the back alley trading that you have to learn and pick up as time moves on. That's where you really get your education. So, a lot to learn, very frustrated, very disgusted with a lot of the things I see and have seen as we've watched things move along. And a lot of it happens sometimes right on the House floor, right in front of all of our faces, because they just know Nobody's going to check into it. Nobody's going to watch. Nobody's going to go back and look at the videos. And so it's real easy, and we could do the same thing. We could go to that Capitol. We could do what we wanted to do. We could vote the way we wanted to vote, and there's going to be a handful of folks, just like probably most of you, but I feel like there's not lots and lots of folks out there, constituents, who really dig in and dig down and understand legislation, know what it's about, and then check and see how we vote. And I tell everybody, I tell my constituents, hold me accountable. You need to be checking. You Christians need to be checking my vote. And as Lisa said, don't just assume, well, he voted against babies and puppies, so we hate this guy. Who would do that? Well, there's probably 5 other things in that bill that says you cannot vote for this, but you ain't going to hear that. And, the very party that we're supposed to be a member of, more than likely will be gunning for us in this coming election. They will be looking for somebody to run against us, and they will get funded. And my opponent, I got along with him fine. We never had any bad dealings or anything, but we were very different, and our mindset about things. And he was in the Capitol a lot, and he was already getting lobbyist money up there to support his campaign. As Lisa said, there's no money, there's no help waiting on grassroots folks or truly conservative Christian folks. They just ain't. They're just very little, and we have to squeeze it out and make things happen and work harder than everybody else to get there. It's a real challenge. So last year and during my campaign, we scraped up enough, I sent out 2 mailers in my whole district, and then 1 mailer in 1 county that was pivotal, and I knew I had to saturate that county. So 2 1/6 of a mailer is what I sent out. My opponent sent out 11. 8 of those was funded by lobbyists and PAC money. And if you chase the PACs around long enough, you can find it. You're not going to get that kind of support, but somebody, when you get to the Capitol, ain't going to want something back for it. That's just all there is to it. And so I had a group I was speaking to the other day saying, what can we do to change it? How do we change it? And I said, you go out to the highways and the hedges in these districts, and you find somebody. Don't just wait and see who's going to decide to run. Find somebody. Find people of integrity, character, honesty, Christian. Find those folks and then beg them to run. The folks who will stand up and have some backbone and stand at the microphones and give constitutional values and speak their mind on the House floor in front of 160 or 159, probably about 164, other folks who are looking at you saying, we just do not like this guy, we've got to get rid of him. He's not conforming. She's not fitting in. And, I've been called to the principal's office twice. Early on, the first session, I was called to the speaker's office. And it was, hey, what's it going to take to get you to come aboard? What's it going to take for you to be a team player? I said, well, what do you want? And he told me what he wanted. And then he told me what he was willing to give for that. And I said, you got the wrong guy. You just got the wrong guy. So, and I also think when we went up there that day, there had been a few discussions had about the speaker vote. Probably many of you know about that in this room, I'd say. There had been a few discussions, but we hadn't all talked to one another. And I think they probably expected a couple of rebels out on the fringe that was going to come in and vote for this other guy. I don't think they ever dreamed that there'd be 10 folks hitting the red button that day, and especially not 6 freshmen who's just walking in. And we had several folks come to us afterward saying, you did the right thing. You did the right thing, and we agree with you.
Several reps, several colleagues.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, several of our colleagues, other representatives, Republican representatives came to us and said, you did the right thing. I just can't mess up my first 2 years in political office. I can't start my career out like that. So there was admiration for us, I think, and a lot of respect. But there wasn't no backbone to go with it. And so that's our problem. we have a supermajority of so-called Republicans, and we just can't get anything done. We just can't get any, conservative done for sure. And a lot of the big bills that has come through and has been passed, they are no good. And you look, we've all voted against them. It's some terrible stuff, but there's so much money flows around the halls of that Capitol. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to money. And so they want your vote. They're willing to pay for it. And we're just not for sale. So anyway, thank you all. I'll pass it on to Steve.
Good evening, folks. Thanks y'all for coming out. Life of 47 years, 4 daughters, 5 grandchildren. Served as a board of directors of Pike Township in Stoddard County. We have a township form of government. Served as commissioner for 16 years there, commissioner for 6 years. Kind of got booted out of the commissioner's deal for nepotism. There was, I'll just lay all the cards on the table. I put my son-in-law on a non-paying water board, and no supervision, no long-term contracts, and that's what I understood nepotism was. Anyway, I'd worked against the prosecuting attorney so hard to get him beat that he found a little niche in my armor with a nepotism charge, and the judge removed me. So this door opened. I thank God put all this in play for whatever that's worth, and it's pretty disheartening what we go through in Jeff City. On the commission and also on the Pike Township, 3 board members, pretty easy to come to a consensus on what's good for the taxpayers and what's in their best interest. Totally different deal in Jeff City. The Saturday after the election, I get a call from Matt Greasy, who is the Speaker of the House, one of his men that works for him, and wanted to know what committees I wanted on. I said, well, I want on transportation since I had 34 years of heavy-duty trucks. Whoever was on Missouri Department of Conservation, I said, I'm a little bit anti-government. He said, well, we have government reduction program. I said, that's fine, Coach, put me in. I'd had a steroid shot Thursday for my sinuses. So I'm kind of on a roll. I've been fighting the stakes, pulling up my signs. And I said, by the way, you can tell Mr. Patterson I can't vote for him. So I laid all my cards right on the table, right off the jump go. He said, well, how come? I said, because of his voting record. I don't know him from Adam. I don't dislike him. I just don't like his voting record. And I didn't know Justin Sparks from Adam, but I'd seen Justin's votes. So it was a no-brainer for me. So I didn't figure I'd get on any of the committees I'd asked for. I got on all 4. Introduced a couple bills. They didn't go anywhere, which I didn't figure they would. The Speaker controls everything. What bills go to the committee, what committee they go to, and even if they pass out a committee, doesn't mean they're going to go to the floor for a vote. I mean, he's removed people from parking places, their offices. I mean, it's kind of like kindergarten. It's not even high school, not junior high. It's just it's kindergarten is what it is. So it's been a tough road for me to hold and keep my mouth shut. I'm a little probably a little hotter headed maybe than some of the other people up there, but I try to keep it under control. Something I left out. Member of Cape County Cowboy Church for about 15 years. Put on barrel clinics, my oldest daughter and I do, for kids and adults, non-believers, future believers, and believers up there. So I didn't want to leave the good Lord out of this deal because he's had a big part in guiding my life. And these people right here, pretty solid. Proud to serve with them. And the other 10 too. And there's another 15 or 20 that want to be like us, but they don't have the nerve to stand up. And this is the only job I've ever had, and don't take this wrong, that I have a doubt of leaving in better shape than what it was when I got there. Every job that I've ever had, I've been able to do that. And not because of me, because I was able to work with people and make things better for whether it was an individual owner, a corporation, the county government, Pike Township, have always done my best to leave things in a better shape than they were when I got there. But unless we get 15 or 20 more of us, it's going to be tough to make that great. Again, thank you all very much.
All right, so wasn't really sure what a format would be here, so now we're just gonna wing it, right? Sure. So I see this box sitting over here, and there's no reason for me to continue to share all the assessments that they gave, because obviously they hit the nail on the head. We have no power. It is constructed to be that way. The speaker holds all the power, and a very ironic situation is I actually ran in 2020 once before I lost, but I ran against a gentleman, Representative Dale Wright, out of St. Francis County, Farmington area. And I was unsuccessful, and he was always gracious to me. We always had a pretty good relationship afterwards. And then little did I know, 4 years later, I would be finding myself on the same side as Dale in the speaker race, as he voted for Justin Sparks as well. I think his reasonings were a little different than ours. There was a lot of personal issues with him and the speaker. But the whole reason I even bring this up in the first place is because I went out to dinner with him after that first week, because we had this kind of surprising full circle moment. We're like, oh man, like we came in as almost enemies and now here we are as allies. But in that dinner, he said, Bryant, he said, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here, that there is only 37,500 people or constituents in this state that actually matter, and that's the speakers. And boy, was he hit the nail on the head there. So, and I'm sure I would venture to all of us to be able to explore a little bit more this evening, because if there's anything that you could take out of this meeting tonight is I think you need to understand what the actual structure and the hierarchy is in the House, because that is, in my opinion, is one of the worst, it is the worst problem that we have here in Missouri, because we will never get actual conservative legislation that's not watered down with the current structure that we have. So we will not follow the Constitution with the current structure that we have. It's just not going to happen. Special interests rule the roost, lobbyists rule the roost, and they have it easy because they can circumnavigate around us, because all they have to do is go to the top, which is the speaker. So, I find it ironic. Actually, let me ask you this. So, who knows what this is? I'm sure a lot of you guys do, right? Yeah, Missouri Constitution, exactly. I'm glad you guys still have the light blue ones and not the red that has the pro-abortion stuff in it. So, appreciate that. So the light blue is the good Constitution. How many people have read fully the state Constitution? Got one back there. It's very long. We got two right here. That's three. That's far more than I expected. I'll be honest. How many people have read one sentence in this section? Great. Plenty of hands. Love to see it. Well, you've read the Constitution more than 99% of our colleagues, so there you go. Article 1, Section 1, which I would argue is one of the most important. There's a reason why it's Article 1, Section 1 of the state constitution, because it says that the government, all government, derives its power from the people. That all political power is vested in and derived from the people. That all government of right originates from the people. Think about that. So the government is supposed to answer to you. Do you guys feel like we answer to them, or do you feel like we answer to leadership? The Speaker of the House, of course, because what Steve said, there's reasons behind that, but what Steve said is the Speaker controls the entire legislative process, along with the floor leader. The floor leader does have a little bit of say, but they always get along. They're always a team. And so the whole legislative process, but on top of the legislative process, the Speaker also determines who gets their committee assignments and where they're going to go. He can pull you from committee assignments. He determines the chairs, the vice chairs. The ranking minority leader technically does the Democrat side, but if they wanted to, they could very easily pull the Democrat side too. So you can see where the problem is when you have a kingmaker or the puppet master at the top that has control over everybody's legislation, every single piece of legislation. They have control of everybody's committee assignments, so which committees that you get to sit on. Technically everybody's parking spaces and offices, as was alluded to as well, although that is kind of distributed with the accounts chair, but once again, they work as a team, because if she did not follow what the speaker wanted, she would no longer be a council chair. So, funny how that works. So us on committees, we have very little say in the legislative process. It is true that maybe a committee chair that's appointed by the speaker does have a little bit of say of what bills they hear and what bills they don't want to hear. However, the speaker can very easily make them hear a bill, or they can just put it in a different committee, because committees don't actually matter when you can just funnel legislation through any committee that you want that has all of your favorite representatives on it. So you can see where I'm going with this, is that if you actually want to say in your legislative process or in your government and hold your government accountable, quite frankly, it doesn't matter if you vote out your representative. It doesn't matter if you vote in more people like us, unless you have a majority of us and someone who's willing to give up the power at the very top. It's never going to change. That's the reality of the situation. I hate to be pessimistic, but you asked me to come, so yeah. So I thought I'd lay it out to you. But I haven't been told by anyone else, including our colleagues, that this isn't true, because it is true. That's the problem with Jefferson City. We can't get conservative stuff done because the special interests don't want it. IP reform. The special interests don't want it. So what did we get? Yes, we technically passed an IP reform bill during special session, but it's never going to pass, which is, I think, the plan all along. I'm going to try to help get it passed. I want to protect this document as much as I can, but the reality is they threw something on our laps that had never been introduced before, that had very little vetting, that we didn't have any say in, and I'm not even talking about just us.
And, can I throw in there, there was an amendment that was being worked on by somebody in the more conservative side of the party, and we were told that there were to be no amendments offered to this, and if we did so, it was at our own peril. That's a direct quote.
That is exactly correct. And you see this, this happened with IP reform. This happened with the HJ, talking about the new Amendment 3, the HJR 73, which is what's going to be the new Amendment 3. We pretty much, bill after bill wasn't liked by the caucus, and then we finally got this thrown on, and I think the exact quote was, it's not perfect, but it's the best we can do. And when you're talking about babies' lives, I don't know if that's the best we can do. So, thank you. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and I don't want to continue to ramble on, but that is, in my opinion, the biggest problem we have. And I appreciate Justin Sparks for stepping up. And the thing that Justin Sparks did, he may not have won the speaker's race. He wasn't able to turn enough of our colleagues onto his side. But what he did do is he did ignite a fire within the grassroots. He created a relationship that very well maybe never could, maybe it would have happened, but likely it might not have. We all here for our friends because of that speaker vote. And obviously the other 5 that joined us, and quite frankly, even Dale Ray, to an extent. So that's something that he did. So, but we need more of us. And so there is a very likely scenario that this next time around, there will probably not be an opposition to the speaker. And so what we need to make sure doesn't happen is that we don't fall back in line as the way it was before. So, I don't really have a great solution on that. It really needs to come from the people. As I said, Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution says we derive our power from us. So we need you guys to pull that power, get that power back. Because if you're expecting the government to give it back to you, you're expecting leadership in the House, in the Senate, well, you are mistaken. I'm sorry. So it's up to you guys, and we really need all the help we can get on that.
Am I supposed to follow that? I'll give you the silver lining. The silver lining is that God is so faithful because, like he said, this group of 9 would never have formed probably on its own. And as Keith said, I was given the same advice he was. Trust no one when you get to the Capitol. Now that gives you a really warm, fuzzy feeling to know that you're getting ready to go to Jeff City and you can trust absolutely no one. And after that vote and our group forming, I can just speak to God's faithfulness about how he was raising up people across the state. So we didn't have to go in there and stand alone, fight alone. I don't know how Mike Moon did it for all those years because he was alone, and we have each other to at least have our backs. I mean, these people fight for me in rooms that I'm not in, and you can't ask for more than that. They didn't even know me a year ago, and literally, I could tell you what Keith Elliott said out in the hall to someone about a bill of mine. He was trying to help me get my bill referred, and he just laid it out there for him, you know, and I mean, it's been phenomenal to have this group around us. And so I think that God is moving and that he is working on people throughout the state again. If we can all get reelected, I know there are good candidates out there. So hopefully we will get some voted in, but also I feel like maybe a few of the ones that didn't have the courage at the beginning of session last year, but then saw how things worked out for them, all the promises made and not kept, they weren't effective. They ended up with the same thing we did, which was nothing, basically, except our pride and our dignity and the fact that we did what we felt was the right thing to do for people. So if our numbers can grow, I'm going to be more optimistic than you, Brian Wolfen.
You know, I'm just going to leave.
Don't leave. I think that the tide is turning, and honestly, you know, with this Charlie Kirk thing, I think that has just opened so many eyes, and so hopefully, just everything coming together on this, we are going to grow our numbers. I just feel like we are. So everybody pray to that end, please, as we move forward, that we do get some really good candidates on ballots across the state, and people are awake, and they can get them in office in Jeff City, and we will help them in any way we can, because we know how it is. We can tell them what to watch for, how to not drink the Kool-Aid, how to be a successful rep, even when your legislation isn't moving, because folks, it's not about the legislation to me. If I never get a bill hung on my wall, I don't really care. I'm not there for that reason, okay? So, and I don't think anybody else is here either. So we will do what we can, and frankly, with some of the retribution that we got, the retaliation that we got, I was less busy with committee work, so I just poured that energy into my district. How can you go wrong with that? You know, I mean, just pouring back in and being at everything you can be at and just being there for your constituents who have an issue or something. I thought it was great. I was fine with it. So anyway, and I did not even talk about my family. All of these guys talked about their family, so I'm going to throw it in here. So time out, let me back up. I want to say I'm happily married for almost 33 years. Halloween, in just a couple weeks here, is my 33rd anniversary. Yes, it's strange that I got married on Halloween, but I did.
It's really not that strange now that we know you.
I appreciate that, buddy. And I have two children. They are both married, and one of them, the oldest one, is expecting her first. The youngest one already has given me two. One is just 4 weeks old today. And so, great life, and I attend Crossway Fellowship Church in Willow Springs, and I serve on the praise and worship team and as a church greeter. And so that's a little bit more about my personal background for you. And legislatively, or House floor wise, let's see if there was some. Oh, I wanted to just talk about those bills. Those bills that get to be giant bills, or the bills that have poison pills. So, of course, our constitutional expert over here can talk all day and all night and the next day and everything about single subject bills. I can too, believe it or not. They're horrible. I think it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Everybody hates multi-subject bills, omnibus bills. We all want single subject bills. So we challenged that a little bit last year. One day we were, and it was about halfway through session, And we were hearing a bill on transportation, and it was, I can't remember how many pages it was to begin with, maybe a couple, maybe 2-page bill. And they were getting ready to load it up with a whole bunch, 14 other bills, 14 amendments to it, and make it a 65-page bill. And I see this happening, and it was really the first time it had happened, and I'm like, good grief, are we really doing this? Come on, we could do better. And so I was just getting all kinds of upset, and so I texted my buddies and I said, if I call for a roll call vote on this, will you guys stand? Because you have to have 5 members standing to get a roll call vote. And they're like, go for it, we got your back. So I did. I stood and asked for a roll call vote, and at least what that does is put everyone on record, okay? It's, if there's a voice vote, whoever's chairing that day will just call it however they want to. I mean, if you're sitting in that chamber physically hearing the yays and the nays, sometimes the nays are louder than the yays, and they'll say, the yay, you know, the guys have it, whatever. So when we call for a roll call vote, that puts it on record, and we have to push that button, and then you guys can go and see how your rep voted. Did they think that that was a great idea to legislate that way, to bundle up a whole bunch of things and make a big omnibus bill, or not? So we called for quite a few roll call votes throughout session from that point on. And of course, a lot of the reason why we vote against some of this stuff is because it is just multi-subject and just huge. It goes from a 4-page bill to a 200-page bill. We would put on 30-something amendments sometimes. Not we. We're saying no. But all of them still passed, you know. We're trying to get them stopped, but we just don't have enough people yet to be able to kill them. But one thing happened near the end of session, and I thought it was completely brilliant. Representative Cups from over in Southwest Missouri, he, so what they do, the process of this is whenever a bill gets filed, it gets a title, and it goes through all the committees, Rules Committee, everything, and then when it gets brought to the floor, if that's going to be the vehicle that they want to use to load up with a whole bunch of other amendments and bills, then they do a titling amendment. That's the first thing that they offer, is a titling amendment. So it may go from a very specific bill to something with a really, really broad title. So the one that we were hearing that day was the titled Invasive Plants. And the first thing they did was offer a titling amendment to change it from invasive plants to relating to agriculture. And then they were getting ready to load it up. Well, Representative Cupp stood up and he started challenging this a little bit and saying, you know, what if I don't like some of the things you're going to put on here? I want to vote for this piece, but I don't want to vote for this piece, because guess what? In the next campaign, you guys are going to, you know, my opponent's going to use this against me, because we've got so many different subjects in this bill, and every time it's going to be used against you in a campaign whenever you've had to vote no or you've had to vote yes on this bill that's just got everything in it. And so anyway, this went on for a little while. He sparked a great discussion, and then he says, if I can get 5 members standing, I want a roll call vote on this titling amendment. Well, this never happens, and I'm like, this is genius. I love this. Well, guess what? We killed it. We killed it. Guess what? Whenever they had to go on record saying that they thought that was a good idea, they thought twice about it. So that one did not go anywhere. So anyway, I just thought that was a great illustration from the floor that could show you guys what can be done. So just watch for some things to come next session. So that's all I'll say about that. Keith, you've got more to say, don't you? Or do we want to open it up for questions? What time is it?
It's 6 o'clock.
What's our time?
plenty of time.
Okay. Well, just a couple things I'd say right quick. I think it's interesting that Lisa brought up Charlie Kirk. I personally believe the assassination of Charlie Kirk was the modern day shot heard around the world. We have seen folks step up and take notice. There's been movements all over the place, and that was because of the life and the commitment that Charlie Kirk had politically and spiritually, and stood his ground in this nation. And through the life that he lived, we've been blessed with maybe some opportunity. And I think we have to strike while the iron's hot, while hopefully we have people's attention a little bit. Hopefully people's willing to stand a little more and take notice and realize that none of us live forever. So, and I understand, a lot of these, especially these freshmen, but, once you've drank the Kool-Aid, now you're in it. You either have to go back, you either have to go forward with drinking more Kool-Aid, or you've got to turn around and go back and say, I messed up drinking the Kool-Aid and now I'm stepping back from you all. People just don't do that. It takes a lot of humility to do that. And so, folks in our very position, they go out, I'm sure they work hard, I'm sure they've struggled to get funding, they've struggled to get in this position, but they just, all of a sudden, they are somebody. All of a sudden, they're going to be somebody even bigger. One day they're on their way, I'm probably going to be the next senator, and then I may run for Secretary of State or Lieutenant Governor. And I think this facade, this carrot that hangs out there in front of them, just literally takes them right off of a very clear and unbroken path to just this mirage that hangs out there, and they never really accomplish anything, and they are used every time a vote comes up. So it's really a very sad situation for so many of these folks who have the opportunity to stand up and maybe do some great things. And as I've said before, we go to the Capitol. What happens at the Capitol? It's kind of like Vegas, they say, what's that happens at the Capitol stays at the Capitol. Well, especially in my district, I don't have a lot of grassroots movements like this. I don't have lots of folks. Unfortunately, we're a very rural district. We don't have Wi-Fi in a lot of my district, and they don't want it. They still get their news off the radio at noon, and they still read their newspaper. And, so a lot of my district.
Misinformed, you're telling us.
What's that?
You're telling us that they're misinformed.
Yeah, and whatever kind of comes out of that radio is gospel. And so, but they're good people. They're very good people. They're just country folks. But it's a lot, as we talked about before, it's a lot to understand legislation, to go understand it, to know what's in it, to keep up with votes. It's a lot. It's a lot for us, let alone somebody who's just living day-to-day life and then trying to keep up with what's going on. And there's some great sources to be informed by, but they don't know where those are at. So it's really easy to go to the Capitol and do what you want to do and then come home and tell everybody how great you just did. And they're just, it's great. Well, that's okay. He take good care of us. Well, they have nothing substantial to prove that by other than my word for the most part. And I tell them, but anyway, and we have a different dynamic of voter base. When I was going door to door through my campaign for 5 months, I went to 7,500 doors. And in my district, it's 2 hours across my district. So everybody lives 2 miles apart. We are sliding sideways into one driveway and we're burning rubber out of it to get to the next one to get 75 to 100 houses a day. So I've done 7,500 houses in 5 months, and it was just taxing. And it got to the point where if I walked up to the door, knocked on the door, and anybody 35 or younger came to the door, I said, "Are you registered to vote?" That was my first question, not, "Hey, here I am, here's my stuff, vote for me, I'm going to do my best for you." I just, "Are you registered to vote?" Many of them, no. Or, "Yeah, I think so, maybe." "Okay, are you going to vote?" "I don't know." "Why wouldn't you?" It take us in a whole different direction. So I spent my time educating them, help them getting registered to vote. My treasurer, he's driving me around. He's over here helping them get registered on their iPhones and stuff. So, a lot of different dynamics. Rural folks don't want to be, they just don't want to be involved with this. They have other things to do. They're working. They're supplying a living. They're busy. And it's hard to get my folks, for sure, hard to get them. When I come in and I sit in my church or I sit somewhere else and I sit down and I start talking politics, you can just see them kind of, you know, this is just going to get painful here because man, Keith's on a rant again, and here he goes. But what is done now, I just want to educate people. I want to educate them and reinstate some power, the power that they have in their hands to take control, because, as Brian said, we work for you, and it is completely backwards. There's a mentality out there that says, you just sit here and be quiet. We know what's best. That's why you elected us this position. We're the parents, you're the children, we will take care of you. Just sit back and go play or something. And, so people just removing themselves from the political environment. It's heartbreaking now that I know what I know. Okay? So anyway, I think that's a big push, and I appreciate what you folks do to get involved and stay involved and educate yourselves and know what's going on, and then try to get that relayed out. I think it's critically important. So, and there's several bills we could discuss. If you have questions, we'll be around, and I'm glad to answer anything you got. But, as Brian said earlier, there's so many stop-offs for a bill. Once we file a bill, and it goes through this committee, and it goes through that committee, and we get everybody on board, and if they wanted to, it goes to the House floor, or it don't. Or it goes through and we pass it, it goes to the Senate, and maybe somebody else say, hey, kill us in the Senate. We have no idea what's going on. If it don't get killed in the Senate, it comes back for another vote. They can kill it there and not bring it back up. It is just, there's 100 stop-offs for a bill to get killed. And so we might get I had one resolution that went through 2 committees. It flew through those committees, done great. Never moved again after that, just simply at the speaker's whim. So I think that was just a little thing, and he can blame that on the committee chair. I don't know. We sent it to him. Committee chair didn't bring it up. I don't know. Well, all he's got to do is say, here this is, don't bring it up. And it's over. So it is. It's a tough road, and I think the fortunate part about it is what you're looking at is 4 out of 9 state representatives who are very hard-headed, who are very Christian committed, and willing to take the hits up front, and try to inspire folks and try to inspire others to do the same thing. Life is short. If life's good, well, live well because it's short. If things are going bad, well, don't worry. Life's short anyway. So, we just have to take that approach. It's about our kids and our grandkids. We've got to do what is right and just for the generations coming up behind us. That's my philosophy.
Steve, pessimist, optimist, pessimist, where are you at?
Well, you kind of heard a little that while ago. I'm a little bit pessimistic. And this bill that Keith's talking about is just country of origin on our beef. I mean, common sense. Why in the world would they not bring that to the floor? And why would our Missouri Cattlemen's Association fight that? And there might be some members of that organization in here, but I don't care.
And Farm Bureau.
And Farm Bureau.
And soybeans.
Soybean, corn council,
Pork
producers, and there was a water bill that brought up. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that.
Tell us how you really feel, Kim.
And that water bill said water exportation bill. It didn't say to stop water exportation, and there was already 41 benefactors on the back side of that bill. And I wanted to introduce an amendment we already had 3 pipelines going out. Now then we find out there's 5. And I'm okay with what we've already got. You can't stop it. But I wanted to put an amendment on there on the floor. No improvement to existing pipelines and no new additional pipelines to allow any more volume of water that was already being shipped out of the state of Missouri. They didn't want anything to do with that. Well, it's not about to stop water exportation. I think it's about where they can sell it. And they've turned this over to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Now, they are not held accountable by the voters. They're a runaway bureaucracy. And that goes on and on in the state.
And not only that, you can't sunshine who's selling it, where it's going, how much, or what they're getting for it.
When I kind of stood up for the farmers on not being able to sunshine where the water was coming from, because a lot of the kids are on those LLCs, and I don't think those kids' phone number needed to be out there. But if you're commercially selling water, then that's another story. I mean, I'm pretty plain spoken, I'll just tell you what I think, and I won, served for 22 years in Stoddard County and lost one election by one vote, so people know whatever I tell them, that's the way it's gonna be, and I'll try to defend that, and if you can prove me wrong, then I'll change my mind. There's just not much common sense involved in anything we do up there, and that's about all I got to say about it.
True words have never been said, Steve. True words.
Let's
So,
take,
yeah, let's take questions, exactly. Oh, Jan says, hold on.
oh, she's got a whole full
Brian,
for us.
sound like we're doing a George Carlin skit.
George, well, you know what, I love George Carlin.
It's a club and you're not in it.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Okay, you guys know how it goes. Please don't speak until I hold the microphone for you to speak, because we're recording, okay? So, you guys are done with everything?
Yep.
You want to say? Okay, questions, because I've been writing some down, if you don't have it to start with. Kim?
Don't you know it?
No, I didn't know.
I did.
Kim has a question.
I don't know, I have about 1,000.
I know, that's what I've been
questions,
doing,
actually, yeah. Do y'all have any control over, by statute, changing our municipal elections to November as opposed to April? Is that a bill you would consider? Because at least in our area, and I'm gonna guess in yours too, they put all the nonsense that nobody wants except, you know, the powers that ought not be, onto the municipal bills in April, and we have a voter turnout of maybe 8%. So we have special interest only getting their vote out for their issues. So that's one thing I would love to see done, is that we take the big issues out of April and onto November elections. That's one thing. The other thing that I would like to hear your thoughts on is, you know, the National Voter Registration Act that came through Biden, and they are letting our motor vehicle departments register people for voting, and they're not vetting, they're not reviewing their ability as or their legitimacy as a citizen. So illegals are getting voter registration through vehicle registration, through their driver's license applications. And I think that should be limited to our county clerk's offices or the Secretary of State's office. So I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. And Steve Jordan filed a really good bill to stop the nonsensical chemtrails across our state. And maybe you could speak to that as well.
I can take the first one at least. All right. Kim, say that first one more time.
I think that, sorry.
Oh, yeah, municipal elections, thank you. I don't know why. It got me thinking about chemtrails, and then all of a sudden I was, mine went blank. Yeah, exactly. So it's 100% something we could legislatively do. I do believe there was one bill filed. I do not remember who it was. It is something that's been brought up continuously in the past. I do know, obviously, the county clerks typically fight back against it. They're one of the bigger associations that do. To me, you know, I think it makes a lot of sense. You're exactly right. Municipal elections are the easiest to manipulate. And I think what the county clerks usually cite is the fact that, you know, their typical municipal elections are nonpartisan elections. So if making new ballots with nonpartisan sections and then partisan sections apparently would be a nightmare. I mean, I can't imagine that's going to be too difficult, but
It would be a subject, not a campaign. It wouldn't be a candidate in April. It would be a statute.
So are you saying that? So you're asking if we could just do it to where an issue gets
It's
to
only
that?
on November
That's
elections.
interesting. That I do.
A larger voter population comes out and they have a voice. And shame on us for not getting out in April.
Sure.
But
Totally agree.
it's the truth.
Yep.
And they don't know what's happening to them because they're not being informed about the issues that are on a municipal election. You know, it's just
Yep.
that they are uninformed. And you know, we cannot, I don't know how, Jan does a great job, don't you think, y'all? For us to inform us,
Holding the microphone, I do a good job.
so it's difficult to educate people around a municipal election. It just is, but they will show up, and therefore the information is more recognized in November.
Yeah.
But they're deciding big issues. Very few people are making
Yeah.
big issue determinations.
Yeah, so is it something we should be able to do? No bill has said that, at least not one that I've read. The only legislation that I've seen introduced in the past, and as I said, I believe we had one this year as well, would be to get rid of municipal elections altogether. And then either put it during the primaries or Novembers. So that way you're nonpartisan, your aldermen, your mayors, your school board members, those would be moved to a primary or a general election. And I think if you try to just make legislation to separate local issues, because typically they are big issues, but they're typically local issues in the municipal elections. I don't know if that would garner a lot of support. I don't know. I mean, I would be in favor of it. I don't have any issues, but I have not seen that introduction. But I think it's something we could do. We do technically have constitutional authority over our state elections. So, second portion of that?
Well, I want to add to that. I don't disagree with what you're asking for, and I mean, anybody could bring the legislation for that. However, this is one that I can see, it's never going to be a clean bill, standalone bill. It's going to be, tacked on to other voting issues or whatever, like.
Christmas tree.
Yes. And so, then it's going to be a question of, can you live with every single portion of that bill? Would we even want to vote yes on it? Because I'm just thinking about House Bill 507,
Which one was that?
Peggy's
Yes.
voter election worker harassment. That bill was being pushed by a Republican in our House. And
Murphy.
it
Wasn't that
had,
Murphy?
no, that one was Peggy McGaw's.
Oh, that's right. She was a
And
clerk.
that was a bill that was actually written by a Democrat in the federal House, Amy Klobuchar. So we were against that, but I can see something like that getting rolled into as an amendment, the 507 bill. And then we're sitting here going,
To try
well, now
to
we
get our
don't want to
support.
vote, now we don't want to vote yes on that because I was completely against that election worker thing. I have been an election worker. I don't want to get harassed. I don't want anything bad to happen to me or my family, but the way that was worded, it was very touchy-feely and, oh, I feel like I have been harassed, or I feel, it was not clean, it was not good. And so that would be my perception of what would happen if we tried to bring that. Maybe it wouldn't, but it's a great idea, and I'm totally behind what you're saying. And somebody could try, but I can see it being tacked on as an amendment, and then,
Well, and the voter registration, the voter registration through the motor vehicle department is a problem. And it's also a problem that college students can register to vote in the community where they're going to college, and they're also registered in another state. And it happens at the end, very close to election time, and they could possibly get a ballot, absentee ballot from their original state and vote on Missouri issues while they're here as a student. I mean, these things are important, particularly now when they have just disclosed all of this illegal voter surveillance. I mean, just all those things that are tying into messing with our elections, frankly.
yes.
We could do some cleaning up in the state of Missouri. The clerks don't think so, but I think we could.
I completely agree with you, and to your point about the motor vehicle registration, I working as a poll worker prior to this, I know that there were a lot of people who came in and said, we registered to vote at the DMV, but it never made it through. And there are issues with that, making it all the way through the system. So I know there's issues. I know your issue is different than what I'm talking about, but I'm just saying there are multiple issues with letting the DMV register people to vote. And
Well, do you not have state sovereignty over this? Because this was a national bill. It was the National Motor Vehicle Registration Act or something like that. Do we not have state
well,
sovereignty
see, and I feel like we were doing that already, because I was a poll worker since 2016, and we were
when I registered.
we were doing that
And that was
before
years ago.
Biden was even in office.
Yeah.
We've been
So,
doing that for a couple decades
Yeah.
in Missouri.
yeah, I feel like that's something that's been happening here prior to that,
I
so
think it should stop.
I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree with you. And jot down some of these things to give us, okay? You have anything to say on that?
No, nothing to add.
Okay.
What was your second question, Kim?
Chemtrails.
Chemtrails.
Steve.
Chemtrails.
Yep, Steve's. Bill.
Okay, we introduced the chemtrail legislation last year. I copied a senator's bill from over in Tennessee, a good friend of mine I knew from the trucking business. And of course, it went nowhere, but now we have some momentum. This thing has kind of got in the sunshine where everybody can see it now. Missouri Clean Skies, I would urge each of y'all to log on to that and follow them. And also Zero Geoengineering is another good one. And Mike Moon is going to
Zero is spelled out?
no, it's just a zero.
Okay.
Geoengineering, I believe, is how it's on there. And then Missouri Clean Skies. Mike Moon is working on some legislation right now over in the Senate, and probably got maybe done yesterday or today. I haven't seen a copy of it yet. He's going to send it over to the House. We've got several people that are going to co-sponsor this thing, and I feel like maybe if somebody else's name was on it, it may go further, but we're just going to keep putting the pressure on, and I don't care if somebody else's name on it. I'm 68 years old, not trying to climb the political ladder. All I want to do is represent my constituents and help you all work through the maze. I've helped a lot with the DNR permits over Tyson closing to get changed over to Cal-Maine. When they took us up there, I'm going to back up here a little bit. This is going to be the greatest feeling that you ever had. It's like a religious experience. You're just going to be in so awe. Well, I mean, I flew all over the country for the trucking company. It's just another building. It's a nice building, but it's not the end of everything, and that's what they tried to sell us on.
Okay, I've got some experience with bills in Jefferson City, and the thing that irritated the crap out of me is that every session you gotta start all over. So can you get a bill, and let's say it just goes to the House and sits in one of the committees, can you leave it in there and then the next session will just start again? Can we not get something to say that, can you imagine how much time that would save?
How much time did you
I mean,
spend there with that?
I
She
would.
got a bill passed.
Yeah, I did. But, I mean, just the amount of time that you go to Jeff City. 9 years.
9 years.
9 years. I went through 4 cars. To my husband's chagrin. But anyway, I just thought that, I have noticed that there are some states, and I can do some research on that, where they stop a bill wherever the session ends, wherever that bill is. If the sponsor wants it again, then it's already made it through that one committee, and you just go with it from there. Just the amount of time that you guys waste on hearing another bill that's already been heard 9 years. The same people have come up and spoke for it or against it. We're just wasting time.
I'll address that a little bit, and then we'll let the constitutional guy.
Okay.
No, I don't need that. Can you all hear me?
Well, they want it for the recording.
Okay.
I think it's going dead, Jan. It's
Good.
flashing red.
Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Bill. You may still have this one.
Okay. I think that's by design.
Oh, it is, yeah.
They don't want things to be simple for you all to come, or for us to get a bill that didn't make it last year. They don't want it to be easy. They want us just to shut up and sit down and let them have their way. I mean, that's about as simple as I can put it.
I mean, I agree with that, but
Well, and ma'am, I would argue that it might not be necessarily a bad thing that things do go slow, and it is very frustrating when it comes to try.
throw something at you.
Did Kim say the same thing or something? Yeah. So, you know, I always revert back to a quote Calvin Coolidge was at least referenced with saying, and killing bad legislation is far better than passing good legislation. And so the more hearings that we can have on an issue is actually better. And one of the main specific reasons why is because in that building, we have a very nasty habit of having a hearing on the bill, and then the bill getting taken to the next part of the process, which may be coming to the floor, or maybe the hearing is done, and then the committee themselves will vote on a committee substitute that could be a totally different bill. So you may come up and give a hearing on whatever bill that you passed, but the chair and the leadership decided to add a bunch of stuff to it, or maybe they didn't like it, so they changed the original language, and then it could literally be a totally different bill. As long as it pertains to the actual title itself, per what we operate under now, I wouldn't consider it to be title, but whatever, I digress. But as long as it falls within the confines of that, then the committee will vote on it. Be a totally different bill. That happened to me at least 5 or 6 different times this year, specifically in intergovernmental affairs. We would get a piece of legislation, we'd have a good hearing on it, it could be a good piece of legislation, then the next thing you know, you get a House committee sub dropped on you with a bunch of amendments added to it, or language being changed, and we weren't even notified about it. It's literally given to us, 2 minutes later, we're voting on it. And there's literally no way to read bills that happen that way. So,
And I agree with that because I've had that happen over the years also.
yeah.
But it's gonna happen whether you start it over in January every freaking year.
Yep.
Even if, I mean, you're gonna have to watch
Well-
your bill anyway. But anyway, that was just, I just threw that out.
Well, if leadership wants it, it'll go through. If leadership doesn't want it, it's not going to go through, either way. And so, you know, all bills get referred to committees at the end of the year. Constitutionally, every bill has to be referred to a committee. Granted, that doesn't mean it's get a hearing. Literally last day, there's 1,500 bills that get referred to committees because that's the speaker fulfilling its constitutional duty. But yeah, I mean, you know, I get it. It's a frustrating process, but in my opinion, of course, and others may vary, but I think it could be a good thing.
You know, something too, right quick.
It's not on.
Oh.
Hold it 3 seconds on the top. I'll take that one.
Can you hear me? Yeah. You know, another piece of the whole bill filing and the process, I mentioned that a while ago about, you know, it has so many stop-offs. It has, you go through, my bill went through intergovernmental committee, passed it, then went to a rules committee, then it goes to the House, all these places that the speaker, somebody can kill it. However, while we're sitting out here, and I don't remember exactly, I believe it was Brad Pollitt, brings up an amendment on one of the bills, never even went through committee. They just grab it up, say, okay, yeah, that's been committee, however, so it all comes down to what the speaker wants.
You know, we watch the videos, by the way.
Good.
Good for
Thank
you, good.
We need everybody to watch.
And also, part of the time, and this is just a comment, doesn't really specifically pertain to that, but part of the time, we have really great committee hearings, and we get a lot of feedback from the people, and it's wonderful. And then you have times whenever 170 people come and ask you not to do something, and 5 lobbyists come and say, please do. And then as 171 wants to get up in opposition, they shut off the testimony, like the stadium bill, I believe was one that they did that. So that can be really frustrating too, in terms of just hearing testimony from the people, so.
Can I get one last comment? Actually, one last comment that you had actually, it popped into my head as you were saying that, is another thing, it's one of my favorite things to hear in a committee, is you get a more senior representative, maybe they're there for 5-6 years, and they come up and they sit down to present their bill, and they give a 2-minute presentation that leads with, well, this is the same bill that I filed over the past 4 years, and I can answer any questions if you guys have any. And then here we are as brand new legislators having essentially, I mean, don't get me wrong, I try to research it before we go in, but not everybody does that, and we're pretty clueless. So that's another situation that kind of shocked me a couple different times, because here I am, 3-4 page bill expecting a good presentation, and I'm basically told, hey, go back in the past and watch previous videos.
Another question?
Hey, Brian, give us an update on the lawsuit on the stadium.
Oh, yes. I'll give a quick context. So Senator Mike Moon, myself, and citizen activist, constitutionalist Ron Calzone have sued the state of Missouri for the stadium tax subsidy bill, which is Senate Bill 3 that Lisa just alluded to. And a quick update on it. We are still in the process of, well, we got a judge. I don't think will be very favorable to this issue. However, it sounds like that's the judge we're rolling with. So right now, I guess the ultimate update is we are trying to have a hearing schedule. But the AG's office, the Attorney General's office, who is representing the state, is trying to dismiss the case on the grounds that supposedly we do not have constitutional authority to sue the state as legislators. That's the grounds that the AG's office has brought up.
They didn't see last night's game.
Didn't see last night's game. Well, they're helping us out in that instance. But no, I mean, overall, I don't think they're going to have good standing on that. I think we're going to be fine. My biggest concern is that really the ultimate goal for the AG's office is to kick this down the road far enough because there's a hard date set at May 30th, and I need to pardon my ignorance here, but if we don't have a Supreme Court ruling by May 30th, then it's essentially going to be a done deal for Senate Bill 3. And so I don't know the reasoning behind that, but that's essentially the update. So we're still waiting on more hearings, but right now the current fight is to try to prove that we have constitutional standing to be able to sue the state.
I'm assuming that's our new AG.
Yes, that would be the new AG.
The
Yes.
unvoted for,
Exactly.
completely opposite of what was
Lost
voted for.
already.
Lost already, yes.
Does
Okay.
any taxpayer have standing, whether it's Ron or you?
So that would be our argument, yes. Yeah, it should be our right, regardless if we're an elected
But you got Ron on your
servant.
team, so regardless, you have Ron on your team.
Yeah, well, Senator Moon's name is as the main plaintiff. So it's not necessarily me per se, it's more on the grounds of Senator Moon. But that's just per my understanding. It didn't sound like a good argument to me, but there hasn't been any judgment on that.
And we have had Ron Calzone here a couple different times, and so Article 3 Institute, you've seen it up on the screen before. It takes a lot of money to have a lawsuit going, and so if you want to contribute, it would go to Article 3 Institute.
Yeah, to give them another quick shout out as well, like Ron is the one who is funding the attorneys for this.
The institution is.
Yeah, excuse me, Article 3 institution, yes.
Yes. Okay, and also their campaigns, like they said, they're not, it takes money to run, so put a plug in for that as well. Okay,
Thanks.
I have a few questions. Anybody else? You got one? I'll go ahead real quick, because this is important to me, the Trans-America Corridor. And I think all of you are familiar at least with it. Keith, you had said you had been a part of MoDOT before. I've been communicating with Don Mayhew, Rep. Mayhew, because he is also interested in MoDOT. But I have also talked to...
That was very diplomatic, the way.
I've talked to business people in Cape Girardeau County, in Cape Girardeau City, and I think there's a lot of misinformation about this. I'm very concerned, and I have followed and connected all the dots. When you start on SEMO Ready's website, and Lisa Darnell, Representative Darnell, asked me for some information. Were you a little surprised?
No, I was thankful for it. I still haven't had a chance to go through it, but I'm very thankful to have it.
I have
because
a
will.
lot of information, and anyway, if you go, so you can talk to anybody and they'll say, oh, it's SEMO Ready. It's the old magnet program. And from there you click on SEMO Ready. From there you click on Partners. From there you click on Moving Forward. And from there you click on and you find Codify and you find, which is World Economic Forum connection with that. And then you click on Ernst & Young, who is also part of all this. And it goes into the big globalism. There is a connection with the World Economic Forum. I don't care what you're being told out there by other people who want this, just an interstate. So we were told, I was told by an elected servant here locally that it's just an interstate, Jan. And then in another meeting, Linda Reitzel and I sat with Clint Tracy, presiding commissioner, and he says, I showed him a picture of the high-speed rail. And he said, oh yeah, that's what we want. Oh yeah, yeah. And so we have a non-functioning website. There's a non-functioning website since we started throwing up red flags. Anyway, so the question to you, Keith, if you're not familiar with Transamerica, I'd love to send you information. And then when you talk about how rural you guys are, with this 50-foot, and in some resources, 300 miles, your constituents will be very affected, all of us across here. So I don't know if you want to help out with that or what, anything, go ahead.
Well, and where I'm at right now, to be honest with you, when I first was informed about it, I was actually introduced to the whole idea, the project, the whole program, not knowing a whole lot about it, from somebody over here. And so we went, I listened to the project and what was going on with it. Obviously, there were some other representatives that were in there and who were listening to this, and they were on board. I probably, everything that I seen, I mean, it sounded good. I didn't see a problem with it. It's talking about a lot of progress and businesses moving in and all the stuff that goes with it. It sounded good. I initially gave them my support and wrote them a letter of support. I think it's a long ways from becoming a reality, just simply because of the logistics and everything behind it. However, I've talked to and got some information, probably not nearly enough, so I do need more information on it, because I'm just now at that point where I'm starting to dig in and find out exactly what it's about. The other side obviously refutes the things that you're saying and this wide corridor and all this stuff. So it's kind of one of the things I need to do some homework on and dig into a bit. I've just kind of pulled back from it and letting this thing play out, because you got folks on one side saying one thing and all the progress it's going to bring. My argument is, how much progress did 60 bring? I'm sure the whole comments was said at the same time. When 60 comes through here, it's 4-laned, it's going to bring big business, it's going to bring jobs, high paid, blah 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 blah. So it's just a sales pitch. I know that. But as we move down the line, I feel like the steam's going to run out of this thing. I just don't think it's going to get enough support to ever happen. However, that still, I mean, I'm just being transparent. I will do my homework and due diligence to find out where at some point I'll be pulling my support back from it possibly and get away from this thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I called Dustin Boatwright on the way up here this evening because I knew this was going to come up. Okay, in the first place, Highway 60 doesn't have outer roads. It's a limited access highway. This thing, he had a meeting with those folks last week. He said, I just had a frank conversation with them. This is not going to happen. The only way it's going to happen is if you get the President of the United States and you have the military come in and build this thing. And you got 3 people, Hedgebest, I'm not saying the name right. Yes. And then what's our transportation secretary? Duffy. And the president are going to have to get on board before this is ever going to happen. Because it's going to take millions and millions and millions of dollars to make 60 an interstate, because there's no side passes. It's limited access. I'm not saying this thing probably won't happen 100 years from now, but I think the wind has been taken out of their sails. I think they're still looking for that pie in the sky, and it's not there.
Well, I can hope for that, but I have requested a meeting for over a month now with Robert Spurlock, the Transamerica Corridor Authority, right here in Cape Girardeau, who was trained by Codify since 2011. And no response. And no response from Earl Norman's secretary, who is copied on the request, and no response from I did get a response from Commissioner Tracy, who sits on the board of the Transamerica Corridor. And, well, what kind of questions do you have, Jan? I believe that's a quote right in the text. So I just want a meeting with Mr. Spurlock.
Well, and I'm hoping the reason why I hadn't called you back, because all the wind's out of his sails since he's had the conversation with Mr. Boatwright. I'm hoping.
Well, I hope so too. And I think he was, because we just want to be left alone. You know, us in rural America, or rural Missouri, and all across. You know, they had the meeting out in Nevada. Anyway, we'll spend another whole
Jan, I think Trump
hour.
actually officially endorsed it. He
I,
just came out like a month
it
ago
is
with
on
president.
second on the federal list.
Well, no,
I think we
Trump-
found somewhere
There's actually a
that.
news story where Trump said it's a great thing. He looks forward to, it's bigger than Missouri. It's not a Missouri thing.
Yes, it's not just a Missouri
It's a
thing.
nationwide thing. If they want to railroad through Missouri, that's not a problem.
And-
And that's part of the water pipeline that's going out to the west coast.
Yes,
Well,
and that's
That's a big
that's
part
the
of the
connection.
deal.
The water bill that they passed,
That's
I
all
think,
part of it.
is all part of it. I agree with that. But hopefully, we don't have enough money to keep up the roads we've got now,
It
and
ain't
we all
Missouri,
know
though.
that.
That's what I'm saying. It ain't Missouri.
It's bigger.
This is World Economic Forum. This is a big deal.
But we're gonna we'll keep that up and I'll send you guys all the information you would like. Okay, you had something else to say
I was
about
just
that?
gonna I was just gonna say that, okay, so you're saying it's not gonna happen for, 50, 60 years, and you're probably right. But I want you to see what we've done with solar panels, with windmills. We have spent, just all kinds of money on that, and it has ruined our environment. We have, it doesn't work. And so we need to actually be smarter this time and not approve something that is not going to work. We know what's going to work and what's not. And I just want all of us to be a little bit smarter, because we fell for the green energy boondoggle, and you see where we're at right now.
I have two, one is utility, and hold me to that, and the other, you brought up Codify. And the guy from the World Economic Forum is not here anymore. That guy's not here. The one that got his grant through the Global Shapers, they're not here. So if you hear that as an argument, they're not in CAPE anymore. It's not to say that WEF doesn't influence in CAPE, particularly through the university, and just the wackadoodle, libtard kind of stuff. But I do want to bring this out to you. The guy that got a $50,000 grant through Codify, the thing he got that for was the development. Now think about this. Think Portland, think Seattle, think Washington, D.C., think Chicago, think L.A., San Francisco. The thing he got a grant for, $50,000, was the development of an app where you can participate in a protest, i.e. riot, from afar. You can donate money, you can communicate, you can add communication to someone else through this app, or you can be told to go. And this is how these people are. It's not the only one, but it is one, and we paid for it right here in River City. So there's that. Ain't that something to be proud of? And then the other thing, on the back of your Ameren UE, if any of you get your utilities through Ameren UE, either look on the back of your bill or look on their website, and you will see a graph about their projected utility services. And the longest and strongest line on the bottom that goes from 2024 or 5 all the way like to 32 or something, I have it in my phone if you want to see it, is solar. The second line that starts next year is wind. Now our president is telling us with every breath, we're all done with this. This and COVID are in the rearview mirror, and yet we just passed utility, what was that, SB 4? that supports this nonsense. And it's ugly, besides that. But, you know, look at your bill. Go to the utility, to Ameren UE, and look at it. It's saying it right before your very eyes. They expect to do and get funded for what Trump is saying, we're not doing that. But they're doing that. Okay, I just wanted to say that.
And on Seymour Ready, Codify is a partner with all of this, so they're still active, but Global Shapers is not. Okay, just a quick question for each one of you. How many constituents do you hear from, your actual constituents? I know you hear from a lot of grassroots groups. How many constituents? Just
I mean, honestly, not a whole lot. For sure, not very many that come to the building. We may have students and school and elected servants that may come to the buildings and talk to us. But outside of that, every once in a while, I'm sure we get flooded with emails on a hot button issue from a voting website or an activist website or something along those lines. But actual conversations, I mean, I could probably count on a handful or less. I could count on one hand how many actual conversations I had with constituents that weren't already friends, such as Brenda and Elaine, Kathy, Regine, but or elected servants. The rest of them, we hardly hear anything, or at least me personally.
It's kind of a hard question to answer since we don't have anything to compare it to. But I feel like I get a pretty good flow of people from my district through my office. Now, they may be there for a specific day, like, you know, Missouri School Board Association or something, so there's school board members who are up there talking to us, or Cattleman Day. But I feel like I've gotten quite enough emails. I don't get a ton of emails from my constituents. A lot of times it's like he said, it's the auto ones that they just have to fill out the information and send, and it's the same letter over and over again.
Does that make a difference to you?
The activist one, usually not, because you know, like, just being honest, you know it could have been from like an email, or it could have just been from a Facebook post, or any of those. Now, don't get me wrong.
I mean, I pay attention
Yeah, we
to
read
the
them.
number of them, but I mean, it's a whole lot more meaningful whenever somebody actually takes the time to think for themselves and pen me a letter, or type me a letter. And a lot of those auto email things come from all over the place, not even just Missouri, but sometimes out of state.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you emailing me? You have no stake in this at all. But
So if I sent you an email, would it be of influence at all? You're not my representative?
I consider everybody. If you're from Missouri, I'm going to look at it and consider it. Now, I mean, I would have to weight my actual district probably a little heavier, but I mean, I feel like we represent all Missourians, and so I'll give you an example. So pesticides bill, the Bayer bill.
Take that bill.
We got a lot of emails on that, but almost all of the emails, and I got them from all across the state. And the people that were sending them were sitting down and writing me a heartfelt letter about it, and it spoke to me. And when we sat in committee, Keith was on the ag committee too, and we see lobbyist after lobbyist after lobbyist sitting there saying that they support that bill, and then you see the people who oppose that bill, and it was Missouri, and just regular you and me type people sitting there giving their story, and that spoke to me too. It's all about the money, and I mean, the things that were being said, how people could sit there and support that, I have no idea. And Keith and Representative Whaley and myself were the only 3 Republicans in the committee who voted no on that in committee. And then they tried to attack me with a text campaign to some of my constituents. I was the only one who got that honor. I think they thought I was the weakest link, but guess what? I don't know why I got picked on in particular, but Keith and Bert both had voted no as well. And we were joined by quite a few other conservative reps on that particular vote too, but it still passed the House. It didn't get brought up in the Senate. But let me just say, there were 9 senators who got mailers sent over that deal. And they were all the same, except they just like, their body was the same. The graphics people were terrible. They just changed the head on them. And with me, I was a little insulted, but anyway. So, are you not done?
Yeah, that was my alarm that went
Oh,
off
okay.
at the time to close the meeting, but how many constituents? You said you don't hear from a lot of people?
I really don't, and I mean, they've already said some of the things. If there's a hot button topic, we'll get stuff from everywhere. To answer your questions, if somebody sends me a bunch of hate mail from St. Louis, Kansas City, I glance over it, pitch it. I don't give it a second thought. If somebody wants to address me with a legitimate conversation that's not copied and pasted, we can have that conversation. If they call me, I call them all back, and then we have some ugly conversations sometimes. But other than that, I hear, unfortunately, from very few. I have lots of visitors. I have lots of people come to my district and visit, and it's great. But again, there just is not lots and lots of folks who are educated and know what's going on. When I go back to wherever my church, one of my counties, and I say, hey, did you hear about the utility bill? Did you hear about, no. And so I begin to explain to them, and then they're over there and they wanting to throw up when they hear it, or whatever bill it may be that we have been, poked down our throats, we all voted against. So again, that lack of education, I just don't hear from them, and, most of them's needing something. If they need something, I help them, and that's great. That's the best part of the job. But unfortunately, I do not have people,
I'm a little different. Monday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm out amongst my constituents at the coffee shops and the restaurants and the barber shops and the Liars Club and
That's true. That's in Gordonville. It's
Yeah.
Liars Club.
so I hear quite a bit. The Bear bill, I voted with them. Stoddard County's got more ground put to grade than any other county in the state of Missouri and more under irrigation. And my phone did ring off the wall before that vote come up. And I made a promise to represent my constituents. And I did represent them on that. And I know it didn't suit everybody. And I could have took the safe vote. It was going to pass anyway, but I voted for my constituents.
And you're man enough.
We've already had a conversation about that. so-
Yes, we have, and that's okay. I will answer any question to anybody.
All right.
anytime.
It is time. Everybody get your tickets out. Was this just great or what? I mean, it went way too fast, way too fast. I know we still have other questions. And are you guys in a hurry? It's a couple of you.
I'll stick around.